Hello and welcome to episode 369 of Sutton Impact Family Style. I'm Jason.
I'm Bill and Jason. I went to bed last night thinking there was no way the Timberwolves, the game was over.
Yeah, on the road in Denver, down by 20 in the third quarter. And they won by
Yep.
10.
And they win. And I was literally shocked this morning. I get up and usually I'll go look at my phone to see what the scores were.
Yeah.
I didn't do that because I didn't think there was anything to find out.
Yeah. I mean, if you're the league, you got to be excited because Anthony Edwards is an absolute star and you're getting more and more of them. He even told,
Yeah.
Charles Barkley, get your ass to Minnesota.
Yeah.
Like,
He's really good with the media, too.
and what's great about him is, I think unlike a lot of stars, and I know, LeBron was a good defensive player, but Anthony Edwards locked Jamal Murray up for the entire second half. Jamal Murray had a great first half. Anthony Edwards, did not have a great scoring game, right? Up until the end when he hit the three in the turnaround. I think he was like 4 of 13 in the first half, but
Yeah.
he finds ways to affect the game no matter what he's doing, which is, the ultimate Because, you look at guys like Harden and Westbrook and Durant. Like, you wouldn't say any of them. Well, I guess Durant's a decent defender, but Anthony Edwards is a perimeter lock-on defender and a great scorer, which is just at 22, just incredible.
Yeah. It was like I could not believe they won.
No. But, you look at
this Dallas-Minnesota series. That should be a real interesting series.
Yeah, but you look at the box score. Jokic had 35, 18, and whatever. Murray had his 25 in the first half, and the rest of the bench scored 5 points for Denver at home, which is incredibly low.
Yeah.
Aaron Gordon had 5 points. Michael Porter Jr. had 4 points, and they just couldn't get anybody else going. And
In the games that they've won, Aaron Gordon and the bench have been a factor.
yeah, and as Jokic said, like, the best team wins the 7-game series. Therefore, they're the best team, and they had the best defense in basketball, and they clearly did. And if you're the Nuggets next year, you have to have some other, as big as some of your guys are, you've got to have a little bit more size to go through the Timberwolves now, because that's now, I think, legitimate, right?
Yep, same thing for Oklahoma City.
You got to have another big body in there, because, when you have Karl Anthony Towns playing as close to, I think, what we thought Karl Anthony Towns could be, right? When they were talking about him as a top 5 big man in the league.
Mm-hmm.
He's been fantastic. Rudy Gobert had 13 points last night, was hitting turnaround jumpers, and I think was like 90% from the free throw line, which is incredible. And then Naz Reid, the 6th man of the year, he can go in and bang with Jokic, and he's phenomenal from short spurts.
And in the games that he's played big, those are the games they won.
Yeah. It's just too much. And then, like we talked a little bit before we got on, like, Michael Porter Jr. makes big 3 money, essentially. And I don't know what you do with him, because sometimes you get this 6'10" rebounding 3-point shooter that looks incredible. But I feel like that's maybe a third of the games Michael Porter Jr. plays. And then there's other times where, again, you have this incredibly athletic 6'10", can shoot threes out to half court that just doesn't show up and just disappears. And and Jamal Murray is a little bit of Jekyll and Hyde too, I think.
I do think he does have some really up and downs.
Because during the regular season, like, he's always got, like, I know this playoffs he supposedly had the calf going. Not supposedly, he had a calf injury. But I feel like during the regular season, he doesn't make a lot of all-NBA teams or all-star teams because he usually misses a chunk of the season. And then he plays hurt for part of the season. But then you get him in the playoffs, and he's either, he's almost more like a Vinny Microwave Johnson or, a heat check player where it's like, when he's on, look out. But it's just not consistent. And as good as he can be in that pick and roll, like, it's not just there. And I know a lot of that's Minnesota's defense, but it just hasn't been there. And if you're Minnesota, you look,
Mm-hmm. So what do you think about Michael Conley? Played really well last night.
He's, did you see what Kenny the Jet Smith said?
No.
He said, when Anthony Edwards has to bring the ball up the floor, which he did in 2 of the losses because Michael Conley didn't play, he's like, when Anthony Edwards is coming up the floor, he's like, now as a team we have 10 eyes on Anthony Edwards. He's like, if you get somebody even competent like Michael Conley Jr., now all of a sudden Michael Conley's bringing the ball up, and Anthony Edwards is allowed to roam along the backside. He's like, you're lucky you get 5 eyes on him, 6 eyes on him. He's like, it's just not the same. He's like, it takes so much pressure off him and opens things up for everybody. And he's like, and that's just a Michael Conley, just a solid veteran, someone that can bring the ball over half court.
Yeah, that's a good perspective.
Yeah, I didn't even think about that. I was like, that makes a ton of sense.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And Anthony Edwards, after the game, said that he's going to be on Kyrie, and he can't wait. And I believe him.
I love the guy. He's confident, but he's got a great smile.
Yeah.
I mean, he's got a good personality.
And it does come off more as confidence and arrogance. And
Agree.
And even when he talked about guarding Kyrie, it sounded more like he was excited for the challenge of guarding Kyrie more so than I'm going to shut Kyrie. Like there wasn't no like I'm going to shut him down.
No.
It was just, I put the cuffs on Jamal Murray in the second half tonight, and I can't wait to try to do the same thing to Kyrie. And yeah, and that's what he's going to do.
Well, like I said, I'm looking forward to that series.
Now the other series in the East, what do we think of that?
Well, I mean, I didn't, as beat up as the Knicks were, I thought it was a tribute to the team to be able to go 7 games.
It was.
I did not see that coming. I originally thought 5 as they were so beat up, but and last night, if the Knicks would have won, I would not have been surprised just because they were on total grit. They're the grittiest team in the NBA right now.
Yeah. I mean,
but I just don't see the Pacers matching up well with the Celtics.
No. But you look at the difference between the East and the West. I mean, the Nuggets had to play LeBron James and Anthony Davis in round 1. Oklahoma City was the number 1 seed, and they just lost to Kyrie and Luka. Whereas, over in the East, it's been pretty smooth sailing for those teams for the most part.
Yeah.
And it's hard to say what the Celtics are or what they aren't. They put up, I think according to almost every analytic, they're in the top echelon of historical numbers as far as, point differential and win shares and all that other stuff, but they really haven't been challenged in these playoffs. And
not at all.
I do feel like maybe Denver, Minnesota were the 2 best teams in the playoffs. And it was hard to see any of the East teams competing with them, especially Minnesota, with the size that Minnesota can put out on the floor. There's not a lot of teams that can deal with that. And then I saw an interesting thing about Indiana when they were previewing Indiana-Boston, is that even though Boston tends to get away from it, when Boston is at their best, it's when they're running and gunning. And that's what Indiana wants to do. And it almost makes it easier for Tatum and Brown, because when they get in those half-court sets, they just haven't been the same kind of team. Mm-hmm. But if you're in a foot race up and down with Derek White and Holiday and Tatum and Brown, that's ultimately where they want to play. And they're probably the better team over Indiana. But as you said,
I would say yes for sure.
But as you said, because they are Boston, with the way they seem to fart away a game or two, it's pretty easy to see them farting away a game or two.
And T.J. McConnell is my X factor.
Yeah, he got some love from Charles Barkley last night too, and don't forget James Naismith, who's playing really good basketball for Indiana and was drafted originally by the Celtics. And they showed some highlights of him playing the Celtics this year, and he takes it very personal that he didn't get any run with Boston when he was there. Whether or not we weren't in practice, we don't know if he earned it or not. But Naismith and and Halliburton played like the guy we crowned as an All-NBA type player in the beginning of the year before the injury. So it's pretty exciting.
So are you going Boston, Minnesota, or Boston, Dallas?
I'm going Boston, Minnesota. I think Minnesota's just, that borderline team of destiny. Plus, with Ant didn't play well specifically last night from a scoring standpoint, but everybody else picked everything up. And it just seems like they have so many guys that can come off and, T.J. McConnell, not T.J. McConnell, who they have, Jaden McDaniels had 23 points last night, hit 5 threes.
Yep. No, they play a lot of guys and they play well.
Yeah. And they've got a lot, they're very versatile.
And Luka's pretty beat up.
Yeah.
And I don't know how Luka's going to do going against the bodies he's going to have to go against.
No, and then I'm very interested to see how Kyrie responds to Anthony Edwards basically saying in public, I'm going to guard Kyrie. I'm looking to lock him up. I mean, because Kyrie is one of those, I always think about that game when he was after James Harden was traded away from the Nets, and they played in Philadelphia.
Mm-hmm.
Kyrie locked up James Harden full court that entire game and just embarrassed him. And Kyrie is capable of doing those sorts of things, And it'll be very interesting to see what he does with Ant, with Ant on him, if he really rises to the challenge or what happens with that.
Yeah. I mean, he's taken some halves off in that series.
Yeah, he really has.
He's a better player than I think he's a better player than he showed in that series.
I think so. He's been in our lives a long time, though, right?
Yeah.
And when he wants to be, he's pretty incredible. That's what I guess the point is. And when he doesn't,
mm-hmm.
it's it's less than exciting.
That's pretty accurate.
Do you want to go a little WNBA?
Let's go a little WNBA. I mean, the Caitlin Clark thing. My thought all along was that it's a great basketball player, not a great athlete, but a great basketball player.
Yes.
But wasn't playing against teams that were going to be really physical and be able to beat down on her and really make her work to get open. And then you add that to the challenge of this really hyped player coming in. You had players been playing this league for 5 or 6, 7 years and never gotten any recognition. Now's your chance to get recognition because this person just comes in and gets all this publicity, rightly or wrongly. You can make your name by, you're going to be on SportsCenter if you shut her down.
Yeah.
And you're making it work. I mean, you're making it work. And she's not playing with that good of a team.
No, and
he's got a couple good players on it, but it's not a good team.
And the NBA choosing to give her charter flights before some of the other people got charter flights didn't help her cause. Her getting caught on the microphone.
But it trickled down and benefited everybody.
Eventually, yeah. But I mean, and then, she got caught last night bad-mouthing her teammates to her coach on microphone, a hot mic that didn't look great. And again, her teammates aren't great.
No, but she's going to be frustrated. I mean, it's frustrating because she's been the darling for the last 2 years.
Yeah.
Nation's darling. And now, people are questioning her because she's not being able to do what she did at Iowa. Yeah. But she's not going to be able to do what she did at Iowa because at Iowa, the offense was designed for her, around her, and everybody had a complimentary role to her. And at WNBA, it's not that way. So, I mean, it's tough.
Yeah. And I don't know if we'll ever get away from this conversation because it's been happening my entire life for decades now, and I'm sure all of your entire life. But, like people continue to say with Larry Bird, and they've said with Jokic, and they've said with Doncic, and they clearly say with Caitlin Clark, you're an overrated player, you're only popular because you're white. And, that conversation never dies either, which is a shame. Because she is a good basketball player.
She's a good basketball player, but she's playing against good basketball players that are good athletes too now.
Yeah.
As opposed to what she played against in college.
It's very true. What do you want to shift?
All the rookies coming in are struggling a little bit. So I mean, the coverage of this group of athletes entering the WNBA was the most publicized group of players entering the WNBA in its history.
Yeah, I think all 3 of Caitlin Clark's games are the 3 highest, most watched WNBA games of all time. So, they should be happy she's there.
And you know what? The next one's going to be up there too.
Yeah. Exactly. Well, do you want to talk?
I hope they're able to do some things, but I'm not going to be surprised if you see a coaching change, and then I'm not going to be surprised if they're drafting in the top 2 or 3 next year because I don't think they're going to win many games.
No, it doesn't seem like it.
But let's talk about heralded athletes now. Let's talk about the number 1 pick in MLB, Paul Skeens.
Yeah,
comes out in his second start and goes 6 innings, no runs, no hits, 1 walk, and I think 11 Ks.
I think 11 strikeouts.
First 7 in a row.
Yeah. He's real good.
He threw 100 pitches, and his 100th pitch was 100 miles an hour.
Yeah.
He's a pitcher. I mean, he can go 102, and then he can go 77. So, I mean, if you're looking for 102 and you get a 77, you're going to have problems. And if you're looking for a 77, you get 102, you're going to have problems. And, I mean, he has downright made people look foolish. He's had people falling down swinging.
Yeah, at 21 years old in his second major league start already. Yeah, it's really incredible what he's doing.
Yeah. And it was the same team for both starts.
Yeah.
They played the Cubs both times. So you would have thought, and he had a great quote. Somebody said, well, now that they've seen you, they're probably able to prepare for you. And he goes, probably, but I don't think so.
Yeah. Yeah. And his girlfriend has been in the stands doing social media and, hyping everybody up a little bit more. Yeah.
So you're going to see the effect because you're now going to probably see when they look at the rotation and he looks like he's going to pitch on a Sunday, you're going to see the Pirate game on a Sunday night that'll be the ESPN game of the week because now people will want to tune in for that and see that. That's the only way the Pirates are going to get on TV, national TV.
Yeah. It's a good enough reason to get on there though, right?
Yeah.
I mean, why not? Did you want to talk about your terrible call or you want to just move on to some football?
Yeah, we'll talk about my terrible call. So in the Pirate game against the Cubs, it's a 0-0 game in the ninth inning. Two great pitching duel. There's a ball hit. There's a runner on second. Ball hit to center field. Center field gets the ball, throws it in. It's a little offline, but it's there in plenty of time. The catcher gets the ball, spins, tags the runner on the toe and again on the thigh before he hits home plate. He rolls over, holds the ball up to show the umpire that he held on. And at the same time, the runner either deliberately or inadvertently knocks the ball out of his hand. And, to me and everybody else has looked at it, the play is over, the runner's out. And, that should have been some kind of an interference call. And yet they don't rule it, it's the home team, it's the ninth inning, and they rule it, they confirm it. And everybody's baffled that you can confirm that.
Yeah.
So, just one of those things. It's not, I think umpiring has been terrible in baseball this year. I can hardly wait for the robot umps.
Yes, indeed.
Then they can just focus on the other things and hopefully improve their percentage of getting those right.
Yes, indeed. Well, our Steeler Minute will also be somewhat of a national. The NFL released their schedule this week. Let's play a fun, didn't tell you about this before, on-air game. I'll read the Steelers' schedule, which has been, ESPN's done things on it, PFF, about how being the most ridiculous schedule. Just do a rough count in your head how many games you think they're going to win. And you can do that at home, too. So we have at the Falcons, at the Broncos, so we have a Russ revenge game, potentially.
Okay.
Home for the Chargers, at the Colts.
Okay.
Home for the Cowboys.
Okay.
At the Raiders.
Okay.
Then they host the Jets. They host the Giants. They go at the Commanders. And this is where it gets brutal. This is 11-17. So November 17th, they're home for the Ravens. At the Browns. At the Bengals. Back home for the Browns. At Philadelphia. At Baltimore. They host the Chiefs on Christmas. And they finish with the Bengals. That's rough, right?
It's horrible.
I have 9. And I think I'm being...
I had 9 and 8.
Yeah. Which would put them above their 8.5 Vegas win over total. But it's a real brutal schedule.
Yeah, it is. It's and the sequencing is what really makes it bad.
Yeah, it really is.
Because you got your 6 division games all after Thanksgiving or right around Thanksgiving till the end of the year. And then when you're not playing one of your conference games, you're playing probably one of the best teams in the NFC and probably in one of the best, if not the best teams in the AFC.
Yeah.
Those are your last 8 games.
And then,
if you come out of those last 8 games at 4-4, you've done amazing.
And I mean, you have a new coach in Atlanta and you have Kirk Cousins with all the talent they have down there. That's not an easy game. I think if Russell Wilson ends up being the starting quarterback for the Steelers and they are going to play at Denver at 3:25 on a Sunday afternoon, I feel like Sean Payton is going to do everything. Like, that's going to be his Super Bowl for the year, right?
Yeah.
I'm not saying...
He's got to show everybody he was right in making this decision.
Yeah. Like, I feel like he might not even care what happens in week 1. So you got in the altitude of Denver. And then it's like you're at you host the Chargers, and the Chargers have Jim Harbaugh now. They're a good team. At the Colts, it's still kind of a brutal game. And as you pointed out, at the Raiders, they just don't play well no matter how bad that team is. They've lost to some really bad Raider teams.
And if it's at the Raiders, I wrote that off as a loss. That was one of my losses.
Yeah.
I don't even know who's going to quarterback the Raiders anymore. Taking off as a loss.
Yeah, it's crazy. Yeah, I don't know. As I am every year, I'm super excited for the NFL season.
Oh yeah, it's gonna be a great season.
And I'm even talking myself into... Somebody posted that getting over an old wide receiver is like your first girlfriend in high school, because they were talking about people that still think Jarvis Landry can ball. And I know the Steelers have brought in Michael Thomas, who hasn't been relevant in the league, and I think since pre-COVID, for a visit, and people are like, look out, Michael Thomas, he could come back.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just across the board super exciting. And the NFL playoffs, it doesn't get any better than that.
What do you think about the Netflix games on Christmas Day? So it's more and more paid NFL games rather than, over the air.
I mean, it feels inevitable, right?
I thought somebody estimated that if you wanted to watch all the NFL games,
it's already more than Sunday ticket.
$1,000.
Yeah, which is ridiculous. I still want I know this is never going to happen because they make so much more money doing it this way, but I've just always dreamed about just give me my Steeler pregame show. Let me have my Pittsburgh package where I have one app I go to that's all my Steeler coverage, all my Steeler games. That's it. I would pay more than Sunday ticket for the my dreams Pittsburgh package. If I'm getting the Tomlin show, the pregame show, but I know that's never going to happen.
Yeah, if I could offer that to you for $20 a game.
Yeah.
Or $25 a game. I'd pay $25 a game to watch Steelers.
Do you think we're going to get, a la carte NFL? Or do you think it's still going to just be divided up among these big streamers? Where you, like you said...
I'm waiting for somebody to take their shot. Somebody's got to roll a dice on it to see what it is.
Yeah.
Eventually somebody will.
And then I guess now that we're on Netflix, it's not till I thought it was this weekend. It's not till July. Jake Paul versus Mike Tyson. But they've been showing Mike Tyson.
They had a press conference or something this week, right?
Yeah, and they showed Mike Tyson training, and Mike Tyson looks ferocious. And I know Mike Tyson is almost an AARP member at this point, so and all the medication and being locked up and locked away, but I'd like to see it to be a good fight if possible. I don't have very little faith in it, but I am kind of excited to watch, and that's included with my Netflix subscription along with my Netflix Christmas games.
Well, in Mike Tyson's prime, I would never bet against him.
No.
He was a frightening human being.
He was. And even Mike Tyson's Punch-Out Mike Tyson couldn't compare to regular Mike Tyson. It's just terrifying. Yeah.
Yeah, they got something to watch for. I'm excited with the Women's College World Series Super Regionals this week. It about went chalk. You know, the teams that were favored, I think they all won or all but won, and they all get to host the Super Regionals now. So, you know, Oklahoma is one. I think Texas was 2, and they both won. Tennessee was 3, and they won. Florida was 4, and they won. Oklahoma State was 5, and they won. Okay. So the top 5 are all in order, so they'll all be hosting.
Oh, there you go.
But I'm pretty sure the top 8 all won. So.
Not surprising.
But it'll be good. I mean, you know, if Oklahoma, you know, didn't win, you know, won the Big 12 tournament, but didn't win the Big 12 regular season, and we'll see what it's all about. I mean, it could be exciting if you have a chance to go to Oklahoma City and win. I think teams believe that they do.
Yeah.
I definitely think Oklahoma will win their super regional, and they'll be in the World Series. And I think Texas and Oklahoma State will be there as well. You know, I wouldn't be surprised if it's chalk. Your top 8 are the ones that go to the World Series.
No, probably not. Well, speaking of, I guess our last, as we switch into entertainment, are you excited to watch the Bronx Zoo 90? Crime, Chaos, and Baseball?
I don't know about this. Tell me about this.
It's a Peacock, I think it's a series. It's a documentary series coming to Netflix. And people are saying I did more than any other player and spent time in jail. And it looks like they're going the sensational route, but, you know, it looks pretty exciting. And I'm not a giant baseball fan, but I was like, this looks like it might have the right hook for me.
So is it based on the book The Bronx Zoo about the Yankees?
Yeah.
That'll get a lot of people to watch it.
I think so.
Because you either like the Yankees or you hate the Yankees.
Yeah. And I think they're sensationalizing it enough that it's going to be like, oh, okay. You know, a dose of Housewives and you're good to go.
Well, I just finished watching Sugar and A Gentleman from Moscow.
Okay.
And I enjoyed both of them a lot. Sugar's definitely set up for season 2. No question. There'll be season 2 of Sugar.
Yeah.
It was well done. The last episode got to be a little predictable, but it was still well done. And it's going in an interesting place, so we'll see. I liked it. I think Colin Farrell did a good job. I thought the stories were good. The noir aspect, integrating old films in, I thought was really cool. I think they did a good job. It was really worthwhile.
Nice. I
am disappointed, though, that there's going to be a season 2 and probably season 3 of Shogun.
Yeah, I saw that.
Yeah. I thought, you know, yeah, I guess, you know, you can write. I mean, it's fiction. I mean, you can write whatever you want to write.
But it felt like they had a book for season 1. They finished the book of season 1. It was really great. You know, and again, sometimes it's good to leave people wanting more. It keeps that show alive forever. You know, in a way that some other shows just don't. I've been watching America's Favorite Criminal, Robert Durst, in The Jinx Part 2. And he's still just a wackadoo and as weird as ever. Did you watch The Jinx Part 1?
No, I need to watch it. What's it on?
It's on HBO.
Okay.
I mean, he's only on trial now for getting caught on a hot mic from The Jinx Part 1. And for people who don't know, that he's tied to 3 victims. The first victim, he pled guilty to disposing of the body and cutting up into pieces, but somehow he was found not guilty of the murder, and that he was just cleaning the house, essentially, because if you left the body there, it would smell. He's the rich son. He's got tons of money, and he's got all these different people in his pockets, but at the end of I don't want to give away too much of the Jinx Part 1, but essentially, he was caught on, he got caught with, and it's sort of weird as to why he did the documentary in the first place. I assume it's some sort of weird ego thing, but he's a very interesting person, and he's worth watching.
Okay.
I think we have 8 episodes. We're halfway through. We're on episode 4, but the other 4 haven't come out yet, so. Yeah, and then no food moments again, sadly. I gotta eat
My food moment is Goldbelly had a special on Lou Malnati's pizza.
Yeah.
I got 6 for $129.
It's a lot of pizza.
It's a lot of pizza, but I went for it. Because 2 was like 69 and 6 was like 129.
And as you said, you've got the freezer space, so.
And I don't know who does the math, but I decided it was worth it. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's pretty much. Yeah, I'll try to find a food moment this week. It just hasn't. Manifested itself.
I'm looking for it's be a great week for me. I'm looking for the NBA semis and the Women's College World Series, and then the college baseball conference tournaments of this week.
Nice.
And again, just want to see if a Canadian team is going to make it to the Stanley Cup Finals.
Yeah, it seems unlikely, but you never know.
Yeah, so we got the Florida Panthers playing the Rangers. And the other one, I think we get Dallas Stars playing the winner of, I don't know, Edmonton, Calgary, Vancouver.
Yeah.
No, Edmonton, Vancouver.
Edmonton, Vancouver. Okay, yeah. Sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We'll see.
All right, folks.
Yeah.
That'll do it for this week.
Have a good one.